Call the meeting to order. It is 7:01 p.m. The first thing is our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A roll call.
Okay, Ms. Bullenbacher.
I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Chandler is absent. Mr. Choate. Present. And Ms. Pontello is absent. Mr. Hoof.
Here.
Mr. Oliverio.
Here.
Ms. Pokalnik.
Here.
Mayor Perry.
Here.
Solicitor Corbel.
Here.
Engineer Keenan. Here. Director Tedesco. Mike.
Here.
And myself, we have a quorum.
Okay, great. So we do have the consent agenda, which is the council meeting minutes from August 14th, the bill list from August 28th, and also various reports. So need and these are all on the OneDrive for council to review. Motion to approve the August 28th, 2025 consent agenda pending bill list approval by the borough president, manager, and treasurer.
So moved.
Ms. Polkownik?
Second.
Mr. Hof, any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitors are assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record.
Nobody's on the list.
All right, anybody online, please raise your hand.
Nobody.
Okay. Presence report. The first thing is our construction projects, again, asking for patience as we go. Of course, Steuben Street is getting torn up, but then we also have, of course, the Broadhead project starting and other various ones. So it's just the start. It will get worse, but in the end, again, getting better. We've talked about this at prior council meetings. We have a council meeting on Thanksgiving, and we also have one on Christmas. So those dates are the 27th and 25th. The discussion, or what's up for discussion, is moving the Thanksgiving meeting to November 24th, which is that Monday. The 25th is the Planning Commission meeting. So we didn't want to interfere with that meeting. And then to cancel the Christmas meeting, typically the budget is done by that time, and we've canceled that meeting before, unless anybody wants to come on Christmas. So any comments or discussion or thoughts on changing those meetings?
No, just a comment that I really appreciate the early planning on moving all of this. So
You have to advertise this, so this will be advertised. So can I get a motion to move the November 27th council meeting and budget workshop also to Monday, November 24th, and cancel the December 25th council meeting and advertise the changes?
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Hope?
Second.
All right. Mr. Choate, any questions or discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Great, thank you, everyone. Mayor's report.
All right, 2 things tonight. For all the police station updates, we've got some really great new signage. And anyone who hasn't been by the borough should stop by and take a look. There's a great sign outside clearly indicating that the police station is inside of the borough building. And then we have some nice professional signs showing the way to administration and to the police department, and a great new sign over the police department window. So everyone's pretty excited about that. It's amazing what just a little bit will do to lift everybody's spirits and pride in place. The other thing is school's in. We had a great first day, but we really want to, on several fronts, remind all the drivers in the community to slow down, to realize that kids are going to school, and message from our crossing guards who are really, really concerned about the number of children who are now going to school on those powered scooters, and they're going very, very fast and are often not paying attention, and we're very concerned. So both to drivers and to parents, I would really ask that we watch out for these children, but parents, if your children are going to school on these scooters, please, please talk to them about safety. I know that our chief is very concerned about this, and maybe spending some time at some of the key crossing guards, and who knows, we may have some children with tickets on their way to school if this doesn't slow down. So that's, that's that. But everybody was excited to be back to school. The chief did really well on his first day to Crafton Elementary School. And the new principal there was glad to meet him and to meet with me as well. So that's it, but I'll be continuing to caution everybody about schools in, and we really, really need to be careful. Because the amount of traffic in the morning is just, it's going up there because people are going back to work. All right, that's me.
Okay,
That's it.
great, thank you. Solicitors report. Well,
Just a quick announcement that council will hold a short executive session following tonight's meeting to discuss personnel and collective bargaining matters. That's the end of my report.
right, managers report, Mr. Price.
All right, thank you. So the first off is the budget process. And so just to update everyone about the budget process, we will be starting that next week. And that will be reviewing the work that's been done to date, which is essentially working with all the department heads, gathering decisions that they would like to see the borough consider, what the estimates are for those processes. Or for those items, and then putting it to council to decide. The first meeting, though, no decisions will need to be made. It'll really just be reviewing what those decisions are, and then considering if there's any decisions that council would like to add, if they're not in there already. We will review all account balances. What are the recommended reserve amounts for those accounts? We'll look at the bond fund and the reconciliation of that bond fund and where we're at as we're getting closer to drawdown on that. And also reporting after we now are 5 years in with this bond fund. So we have to report back how much has been spent and where we're at on that so that we meet those requirements and we're well beyond those requirements. What will matter is whether we actually have to pay some interest back because the interest rates went up so much after we took out the money. So we actually made more interest than you typically make on a bond fund that spent down as quickly as we have. So we're gonna look at that. And then as a new item, because we've had the data now for several years, we're also gonna look at some macroeconomic trends. What's happening with taxes long-term, what's happening with real estate income, what's happening with EIT taxes, and what that means for the borough and how we operate. So we'll look at that as well. Then we will move forward from there. By the time that's done, we'll have a good summary of what a budget might look like. And then the next subsequent meetings will really be about discussing the specific decisions and going forward from there. Any questions before I move on? Okay. And then the next thing I have, and there you can see the list of the dates of the actual workshops. And as we did last year, hopefully 3 or 4 workshops in, we were actually in a we were pretty close to having final decisions on most things, so maybe we'll be able to cancel 1 or 2 of the later ones. We'll see how that goes. Or at least shorten them, so we can work on that as we get closer. But if there's no questions, I'll move on to the trail study. We did meet at the beginning of this week, and we actually reviewed the budgets and alignments for Baker's Acres. And for the Creekside Trail, there's several questions that we have to ask of the project that's happening right now on the project that's happening at Broadhead, because that's actually affecting the beginning of the trail, and there'll be some decisions made. So we will bring that to the infrastructure committee and have a little more of a formal discussion on that. Generally speaking, if we did the most deluxe of the options to redo those trails, they're upwards of $1.5 million to do that. If we can do more budget friendly, and there are several but more budget friendly options, we could limit it to probably as low, well under $1 million. Baker's Acres, we could do it, the really baseline would be around 100,000. The other trail, you're probably looking at close to 800,000 for the most basic options, mainly because you have pretty sizable earth moving, because you're getting into the valley and coming back out of the valley, are difficult to do with maintaining ADA compliance. So yep, and switchbacks cost money. So and one of them, in fact, the one that we thought was the most attractive actually really was eliminated because it was just in and of itself was a $1.5 million project. So it really isn't feasible for that. But we're looking into that, and we will have more information as we confirm some of the details around that, and we'll be sharing it with council and the public soon.
We'll be seeking out grant money for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be the next step, would be to look for grant money. And maybe the committee, and we've suggested this several times, is the committee stays on as a public trail committee that maybe can raise funds as well, whether it's through sponsorships or just getting volunteers to help with parts of the project. So yep, lots of opportunities once we get to that point.
So can I ask a question about the Baker's Acres
Yep.
Trail when I heard 100,000?
Yep.
Has there been much look into how much it's eroding at various points along that trail, and what the impact? Because when you say 100,000, I'm concerned that maybe we aren't looking at that erosion carefully enough to see what it might take to stabilize it, or to even move it back out to where it was.
Yeah, I was not aware that.
Yeah, so it's something
serious
you and I
erosion.
should walk that.
Yeah, I mean, we have walked it.
Yeah,
so
I know, but I
will
think
definitely-
that's, if you need to look at it, there's a couple of places where it's really eroded in over even just the last year or two.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah. And with that concludes my report.
Right, great. Engineers report, Mr. Keenan.
Good evening. First item is the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project. This project is underway with construction beginning along the gravel access road off of Crafton Boulevard. And currently, the closure of this portion of the trail is in effect. Did receive word that that they are moving along pretty good, and that this portion of the project may be done as early as next week, at the end of next week. And we also received word that the contractor is thinking about bringing on additional crews for this project, meaning that they will have one crew working along the sewer and then possibly 2 or 3 other ones scattered throughout the project to help make the project move along a little quicker. We're still looking into this to see how this is going to be an impact on the community with closures, detours, and all that, and we'll make a decision based on what is best for the community.
What's the end date? Can we put the end date on again?
In their schedule, they have a project completion date of October 21st next year. Next is the Prince Street Sewer Project. This update is talking about a eminent domain ordinance going off of the taking through the city, which we not done yet, but in order to do so, we gotta put together this eminent domain ordinance. I don't know if Jim wants to.
Yeah, and so basically we have the ordinance, it's been advertised. This is a very simple ordinance. It's essentially giving us permission to allow Steve to go to court with the eminent domain question. So this is basically just a simple easement to get a pipe across a piece of undeveloped land. We worked with the property owner and they were dragging their feet, so we figured this option was just easier. And then once the ordinance is passed, we just have to wait for the city to pass their resolution allowing us to enact it. And then we will proceed with getting permission to do the Green Street project. So we would like to ask for a motion to approve the ordinance. And it's I don't have the numbers sitting in front of me, but we will get it for the eminent domain of the Plessett property in the city of Pittsburgh.
So moved.
Ms. Polkownik,
Second.
Mr. Choate. Questions or discussion?
The number, just not for technicalities, but they follow in order. It's like
They do,
twenty
yeah.
twenty-five dot.
No, that's the resolution.
Oh, that's the
This one, and I thought I had written it down and I brought the wrong agenda. I think it's like 2406.
Okay.
But
And is this project a part of the bigger, like, it's all kind of going together, all of the,
yeah, this was initially a project that was we sought grant funding from Alcoasand with the Broadhead project.
Mhm.
So for the longest time, we were talking about them as one project, really focused on Broadhead with this other side thing. We had applied at the borough before my tenure, the borough had applied for it separately. And Alcoasand essentially said it wasn't a big enough project for them to fund, but if you throw it in with another project, we will. And that's the discussion we've had with several people around Green Street. The only thing that is stopping us at this point is having permission to put the outfall into a stream that's on a property that is owned by someone who in the city of Pittsburgh.
got
And
it,
that's why we would have had to pass this ordinance regardless.
right,
For the take, if we were gonna do a taking, to have permission to build this pipe. But because it's on city property, we also need a resolution from the city saying they approve us
Okay.
making this taking.
So the process, if we were to approve this ordinance, would be the solicitor would then be able to go to the court.
Once the city has approved their resolution.
Oh, we have to wait for them
We
and
still
then.
have to wait for this.
But they've already indicated that that's
So the
in the
city
works. It's
so-
just
okay.
their process and it's coming. And as soon as they do, we have our paperwork ready to go. We would just add it as an exhibit to our pleading. Then the property owner would have a short window of time to file preliminary objections. That's 30 days. And if they do not, then we're able to go ahead and start the work. And then we just argue about how much it's worth. So that's the just compensation for eminent domain. Yep.
Right.
And we've made offers already, but they're dragging their feet.
Yeah.
So-
And the assessment we had for this, I think was $800.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's basically a very simple easement.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially for undeveloped land.
Yeah.
Yep.
In an area that really couldn't be developed in the future.
It's got a water pipe about 10 feet away that is in a valley. I would be hard pressed to think that they would develop this valley. So.
Particularly this area of the parcel.
Right.
Yeah. So.
We've had residents talk about this area in the past. We've also done a presentation a couple months ago to show where it was, where the sewers were, and what this project would actually be too. As a reminder. Right, any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. The next item is the Ewing Road. This update remains the same. Still reviewing updated cost estimates for repairing the road. It's because it's still work in progress. We're waiting on a final estimate that will be going along with a set of design plans We're expecting to receive those by the next infrastructure meeting. I've heard the multimodal transportation fund grants may also be possible. We're also looking into any other grants that may be helpful in this case. But again, we're trying to look at this as now as a minimalistic approach where we focus directly on the areas that need repaired, as well as in adding any additional drainage features that might help better the situation. Next is the C20 sewer separation. Right now, the project is currently along Steuben Street, heading towards the West Crafton intersection. The expected project completion date remains the same at this time at November 12th this year. The one concern that has been longstanding for many years now is ponding water at the southeast corner of the Steuben Duncan intersection, bottom of the ADA ramp there. And right now it's in the works to rebuild the ramp and modify the asphalt in the front to provide proper drainage to the nearby inlets on Steuben and Duncan. Waiting estimate back for this work from the contractor, but we were told that they were good with using the bid prices for the project. Next, we are proposing crosswalks at all the crossings at Duncan Steuben, and did get the okay from PennDOT on that. It's likely this will take place after the ramp is rebuilt. Two other updates that were recently brought to our attention that did not make it. There's a decision to offset the sewer from the curb line for the remainder of the project in front of the post office, 4.5 feet. This does add an additional cost for some structures, but overall it is a cost savings because taking the sewer away from the curb line, you don't have to replace the curb, any of the sidewalks that were affected, any of the ramps, any of the ground restoration. All that work is no longer being proposed with the replacement of these additional drainage structures. So I'm gonna bring that to notice. Next is next Wednesday, they are planning on crossing the street with the sewer, and they're not expecting to do night work, but they are expecting a long day, which will carry into the evening hours.
But getting pictures of all this happening, you know, as they're opening the ground, putting the sewer in, or the pipes, and it would be good to get pictures. Same with Broadhead,
Yep.
just so that people could see what we're doing and what we're spending.
Yeah, I visit the sites and take pictures on occasion.
It's awesome.
Okay, next item is the DPW building. The construction schedule for the project was received and did see an expected completion date on there of November 7th this year. Some of the upcoming work includes finishing the concrete floors and placing the site utilities with Public Works. The oil separator was installed. Public Works helped with that, and the site utility work is currently going on right now. Concrete floors will likely take place next week. And there's also discussion still of the possible fire hydrant and water main extension being brought down to the new building. Moving on is the Steuben Linden intersection improvements. The remaining work includes installing a final ADA ramp. No word yet on when that will be completed. But an as-built has been requested by PennDOT. Still waiting on a work authorization from Gateway to do that work. That said, I just want to elaborate on what that is. As-built, it's essentially a post-construction survey that is done, and it's used to check the completed work with the design work. It's also used as a record to just see what was done as a project completed overall, in case anything changes in the future. Next, Linwood Noble Parks, this update remains the same as well. The cost estimate and analysis for Linwood Noble Parks are currently being developed to include baseline and proposed improvements to be used for good, better, and best options. This was put off to the side temporarily to focus on other priorities such as the Brick Streets plan, as well as making progress on drawings for the DCED grant that was awarded. But nonetheless, it's still a priority, and we'll get back on it within the next few weeks. Next is the Crafton O&M repairs. Similar to the last update, contract work is still ongoing. Contract A excavation still are doing some ongoing coordination to determine start date. That has changed. Their next start date is anticipated to be next Tuesday. Contract B is the manhole-to-manhole lining, and that work is not to begin until late summer or early fall. Contract C, spot lining, they still have approximately 10 repairs left to be completed. Next is the 2025 road paving and brick plan. First item in that is the brick road assessment planning has begun and will take several months. A draft brick streets plan has been completed and uploaded to the council OneDrive for review. Right now, this year, priority areas have been predetermined as part of this plan and to be repaired for this year. That is still being reviewed internally, and it will be brought to the infrastructure meeting with hopes that it will be approved on the next council meeting. I just want to note that field work to obtain the street data for the 5-year plan has also begun. Next item here, road paving that is to be included as part of the Broadhead sewer separation project. These roads here, I had reorganized to be in sync with their schedule to show in the order in which the streets are to be worked on. But with the possible change of different crews being brought onto the project, this may change. But it's also important to note that only some of these streets will be paved this year, impacted this year, and most will be taken care of next year. And with that says the last item, permit applications, which are the newly received permit applications for street utility work in the borough. Road construction and excavation, Duquesne Light Company will be replacing a pole along Chartiers Avenue. No specific street address was provided. The sidewalk construction and repair, PA American Water, will be doing a repair at 582 Broadhead Avenue. The expected impact of 4 by 4 feet. That includes the engineer's report. No questions.
Just a clarifying question for the road paving that's part of Broadhead. That was gonna be my question about when we would get to these, but since this project is so, I mean, this time next year or even later, it would be complete. If this type of work was in the plan and the budget for this year, is that gonna roll into next year if they wouldn't be completed until next year?
This is a little different, and I've been treating the CapEx, basically this is the bond fund. So bond fund has its own budget, and yes, we have to put that in the overall budget. But it's not year to year like the other budgets are, because you're really trying to just basically spend this money.
Got it.
So it's not as nearly as big a concern. It's really more about the overall budget of the bond fund and when are we, diminishing it. We will, basically, yes, we will. I mean, the answer is yes. What we budgeted this year, I think we budgeted 5.5 million or maybe it was 4.5 million for Broadhead this year, because we knew it even at the beginning of the year that some of it was going to get pushed into the following year. Now it's a lot more of it is going to get pushed in the following year because it took us this long to get the EPA approvals that we needed and all that. So yeah, the answer is yes and yes.
Yeah, so it's just almost like flagging money that for this year that we had it, and then now it's just gonna be flagging it in the same
Okay.
fund for next year. Okay.
Exactly.
Any more questions? Mr. King? All right, thank you. Ooh, Community and Economic Development. Your Tedesco.
Good evening, everybody. Item A, the August Planning Commission meeting, which was scheduled for last Tuesday, the regular meeting was canceled due to a lack of time-sensitive agenda items. We are anticipating holding the regular September 23rd meeting at 6:30 here in this room. The zoning ordinance, as everybody remembers, we sent the draft zoning code for county review to the county, approved by council on July 25th. We sent it the next day. We are awaiting a final draft of that document, and when we get a final, we'll circulate to council, planning commission, post it on the internet, make sure everybody has access to read it, the entire community. I will note that Jim and I discovered in the past few days that it is indeed not county staff that reviews the zoning ordinance and then reflects their suggestions for improvements on a report. They farm that out to an independent third-party professional planning firm. So I think I assumed and everybody assumed that there was, I don't want to call it a risk, but that there may be a perception that this zoning report would be a reflection of county leadership's values as far as land use and development should go. And it is not, and it will not be. It will be a reflection of how zoning best practices should go in relation to our zoning code. So it is truly an independent analysis of our code. And we will all be very curious to see that final report. Item C, 82 Belvedere, the conservatorship. I know at the last council meeting, Jim reported that we are very aggressively pursuing the concept of going to market with the current property as it is to solicit responsible flippers, for lack of a better way to put it, to purchase the property, improve it, and then resell it presumably. But, you know, it's always a possibility that somebody may want to own or occupy the property as well as part of that purchase. So what I have done, I have developed an RFP for that. It's in draft form. It is sitting on Solicitor Hosak's desk, Anna's desk. So she's reviewing that. Once that's done, it will be Jim's turn, and then we'll get it out to the public and see what sort of proposals we get. We did discuss whether or not we should go to the judge first in this process or last in this process, which is to say, do we get approval and then go to the market? Or do we go to the market and then get approval for whatever transaction structure that everybody approves? And the conclusion was the judge already approved you selling the property. So go to the market last when you have a transaction to share with the judge. So that's what we'll do. Anna and I did talk about that. This isn't a traditional real estate transaction, in addition to having a judge approve it, but a standard MLS purchase and sale agreement is not going to do it here. So we'll have solicitor's office, you know, really manage the closing, so to speak, manage those closing docs and help us through that process and work through court approval and see if we can find a buyer. So more to come on this discussion. And I know, I'm not sure, I mean, this will take more discussion, maybe a little more offline, but whether to post on the MLS, like, and then it matriculates to places like Zillow, or keep it a little more, I don't want to call it in-house. It'll be a public RFP, but posted on the internet. And we just kind of tell our friends and family that there's an opportunity out there. We're not quite sure how to do this. It's open for discussion. So more to come on that. I want to tee up Kennedy Short, but I want to swap items D and E really quick and report before Kennedy's presentation on the LSA grant conversation. And I actually want to yield the floor to Jim on that.
Yep. So we have gotten some plans. So this is a grant that is expiring next year. This is a local share account, a grant for $120,000. It has no match. It was originally designed to support phase 2 of the Crafton Boulevard improvements. However, due to timing issues, certain parts of this grant were already installed. The lighting was already installed before this grant came up. And so we've asked them several times to move it to other things. They've been very reluctant to allow us to move it. So we are basically spending it on what is in the grant, which is we have a plan now from Gateway to do more vegetation, and we're going to review that with some other folks as well. It did cross my mind that we could actually put in there is space for a few more lights. So we might be able to do that as well, tie that in. And then we also have had interest from folks at Crafton Elementary School who would like to put some vegetation along the front of the school. And since that matches exactly what the grant already does, we're going to work with them to use some of the funding for that. And we should have a pretty good plan laid out to start this in the spring, first thing in the spring, so that we're done well before the June 30th deadline of spending this grant. So
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Kennedy, the podium is yours. I will introduce Kennedy really quick. He has been our summer intern courtesy of the Local Government Academy program that works very closely with boroughs in a multi-county region to provide internship opportunities to townships, boroughs, cities, governmental entities, COGS.
I plug them in the presentation, so don't give
Yes.
them too much.
Kennedy has been an absolute delight to work with. This is my second season with an intern. We are 2 for 2. This is a very valuable program. Out of pocket for us, it's like $1 an hour. Kennedy gets paid more than that, but LGA pays him. So it's very affordable for us, a lot of value, and the floor is yours.
It is mine. Okay. Well, Mike gave me a pretty good introduction, so hopefully I can live up to it. Just go ahead and go to the first one already. So just a little bit about me. Is I am not from even the East Coast. I am from Iowa. I'm a long way from home, but I have worked in state and local government pretty much my entire life. My mom served on the library board. My dad was on the city council. I worked for the Department of Transportation for 4 years, et cetera, et cetera. And now I am here working at Pitt to get my Master's of Public Administration. Shout out, Jim. But I got connected with Local Government Academy, specifically the Municipal Internship Program. It's something that they've been doing for a long time. Mike already gave you the rundown of what they're all about. LGA is not just about interns, though. They do a lot of other like local government job postings, helping out boroughs that are smaller boroughs outside of the city mostly, but also in Western and Pennsylvania, but specifically Allegheny and Washington. My background and everything I've worked in directly relates to accounting practices, economic policy, budgeting, that kind of thing. So this worked out perfectly. When I actually applied, they tell you to put your top 3 choices on a list and then you'll get what you get. Crafton was my top choice and I got it. So I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to hear that you're happy that I'm here. So moving on to what specifically a little more about what LGA is. Obviously, you can see the independent, nonpartisan thing, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody knows there's a need for developing talent in local governments. LGA is specifically tailored for that. It's not just a Pitt thing. It's not just a CMU Heinz thing. We had CCAC, Carlo. We even had we had a one grad or undergrad student from oh boy, where is it? You lived there. Johnstown. I always want to call it Allentown. Like I said, not from here. And grad, undergrad, et cetera, et cetera. It's just trying to get new students looking at trying to get involved in local government and less focused on everybody loves to go work for the NSA, FBI, you know, et cetera, but like local government's what I've wanted to do my entire life. And I'm happy to see that there's programs out here supporting it. You can move on. Oh, sorry, real quick. They also just celebrated their 30 years of the MIP today. LGA has been around for longer, but they gave us some pretty cool 30-year swag, so I figured I'd plug that one here. So specifically, what I did for y'all, where your $1.50 of tax dollars were going. I created more maps than what you're seeing, but these were the 2 most pertinent. The top left one is specifically a listing of every building in a commercially zoned area in Crafton. There is an updated map on the borough website that also has businesses located outside of these zones, say like home businesses or other things like that. But specifically mall district and surrounding areas, transit-oriented district. Obviously, it's a little different now, but historic district. And then so what you're looking at is anything marked in blue is a building in a commercially zoned area that has a tenant. Anything in red is just an unoccupied building, open to business. And then anything purple is a residential building or residentially zoned, like apartment buildings, for example, or duplexes that are in a commercially zoned area. For example, you know, the first floor home businesses or whatever. And then on the right is kind of my more recent last hurrah project. Mike and I were given a list of banners that need some type of revitalization, the veterans banners, for example, specifically emphasizing those down city mainways or city entrances. And so you can see the big amount on Crafton Boulevard, the ones centered around the borough, et cetera, et cetera. All of this data that you're seeing did not exist before I started. And all of this was collected by me walking around the borough probably 6 or 7 times physically with my phone in hand, marking this all down. Definitely got my steps in for this job. And thank you, Mike, to keep my activity up so I'm not just sitting in the office all day. But for example, what this data led to, for the zoning hearing specifically, I sat down with the consultant that was there along with Jim and others. The data that I collected that you're seeing here helped identify not necessarily issues, but places of focus for possibilities for the new updating zoning. And then I even sat down with the consultant and helped answer questions of just citizens who were there. There was a lot of questions about residential homes within zone districts, and I helped alleviate a lot of some of the stress that some people had about that, which would not have been possible without me, under the direction of Mike and Jim, being able to do all this. I also helped a little bit with the Crafton Parks project that Jim was just talking about a little bit, mostly helping get surveys, putting up signage for stuff like that. But it was very, very helpful. A lot of this is now on the Borough website under the business directory, but I will plug that in the next slide a little better. So specifically for what I did as the economic development aid, is I worked a lot with the local business subcommittee. I worked a lot with borough management on all the changes to the directory and things like that for the website update. They plugged me into the back end and I input a lot of that data that I had already collected. So now that the public and everybody else has access to it, along with extra data such as linked websites, phone numbers, owners, et cetera, et cetera. Trust me, it is not easy to find the owners of some of these places. A lot of phone calls back and forth to random landlords and then getting a call back 2 weeks later was very normal. I worked directly with the people with the local business owners and others in the small business subcommittee that have been created. You'll see the shop local sticker if you go look around the borough at any type of local business. That was once again me physically walking around the borough, knocking on doors, handing those out to everybody. I helped put in the order. I was at the meetings where we decided what sizes we want to do, what things we want to go with. Obviously not a voting member, but just to offer help. And we had our first local business mixer hosted by Fig Tree. I know a sizable chunk of council was there, and that was nice to see everybody. And it was also nice to work with everybody that I'd met through there. Not to plug myself, but a lot of them said they really appreciated the outside of Crafton perspective that I brought to some of this, but also could really tell that like I cared about what was going on. Being from a small town, I mean, I'm literally from a village back home. I grew up with 800 people. Small business, and especially in those kind of places, is absolutely imperative. And then even though Crafton's in a much better position than maybe where I was back home, they are still the biggest focus that I have in just my class work that I choose to do. So I am happy to hear that they were pleased with what I was helping them do, and I'm happy to hear that I was some kind of helpful. Even if they just thought I was the comedic relief, at least somebody enjoyed my time there. On a more technical aspect, you'll see some of the numbers that I gathered throughout the time. I created well over a dozen different types of data collection visualizations for the borough, coding different things, et cetera, et cetera. But you'll see a quick overview of the big numbers I found. Crafton is doing very well retail sales wise. Y'all are really, you're almost double Green Tree. So I found some interesting data using census data, American Community Survey, which is like a subsection of the census data, along with a bunch of other data collection areas. And then I specifically want to point out the borough's acquisition of Placer AI as a major game changer for me and what I was putting together. I created a lot of comparisons between Crafton and similar sized boroughs in the area, and also comparing it to Robinson when it was applicable. Obviously, that's a whole different beast. But using that data was absolutely necessary for what I was doing. So the borough is doing very well when it comes to understanding where Crafton sits economically and how to help develop that better. but I created a new business roadmap to help move in new local businesses. Just give a quick rundown of how everything works. A lot of primers on why moving your business to Crafton would be great. A bunch of different business directory maps. Using the void analyses to figure out what would be good businesses that Crafton's currently lacking and surrounding areas currently lacking to get it all in. And that is a major part of what I did. All of that is now with Mike and Jim. So if anybody needs access to that or wants to see it, it's available to whoever wants it. And now I'm quickly running out of time. So Mike, if you want to move over to the last one, I'll just give my last quick plug. I want to thank everyone who's helped me here. I've really appreciated it. I've seen a lot of you just around the borough when doing things. I went to concerts in the park. I tried to go mini golfing, but it didn't work out. But I'm coming back to go to haunted mini golf. So obviously there is an impression that was made for someone who lives outside Crafton. But I frequent in Serafino's, frequent in Circle Inn. I had a very, very good time here, and I am very happy to hear from community members that I've been some kind of help. I hope you all feel the same. This is a very good program. Out of all of the government organizations I've worked with, the people I've worked with in Crafton, even outside borough administration, have been the most caring and want to do attitude people that I've ever worked with, especially working in state governments or bigger agencies. A lot of the peopleness gets lost, and then even in local governments, people get so focused on certain things. But specifically working with council and everybody else, I have never worked in a better spot. I'm not just saying that. Obviously, the borough wasn't paying me too much, so my opinion is not to shout out LGA. But so obviously, I'm not biased. I really, really did have a good time here. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me afterwards. Send me an email, my PIT email, or talk to Mike for any of the other access to stuff. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thanks.
That was awesome.
Well, does anybody have any questions for Kennedy?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
I forgot that I'm
Yeah.
answering questions for
Yeah.
the public. Okay. Anything?
I just want to say, it seems like you really crammed a lot in to this
I tried my
experience,
best.
which is, we really appreciate it. And hopefully, like you said, it was as beneficial to you as it is to us. And
Yes.
I just really appreciate it.
Yeah, and in Mike and I went to the graduation dinner or whatever they had for me. I specifically had people come up and say, "We've seen what you've been doing in Crafton. We want to talk to you about how we can do that for us." So, like, not to once again pump my own ego up, but that would not have been possible without the help of the borough, and I wouldn't have any of those opportunities. And the borough helped immensely in its own development. And also you are making a difference to other boroughs in the area. And I'm not just saying that, there's evidence to back that up. So.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. Just thank you. That was lovely. It's very nice to hear. But yeah, you did amazing things, and I'm sure you were involved, but the small business sign just was really, really great.
The borough has extras. So if you know anyone who doesn't have one, or you have friends and family, let them know. So.
But thank you for all that you did. Thank you.
And Kennedy, I'd like to thank you too for being really flexible, willing to learn new things. We were trained by Gateway on some things, and he was really getting a changed direction when we needed him to at the drop of a hat. So really appreciate that, and you nice work.
Why was Crafton your number one choice?
Because, and this is a lot of what the LGA, I mean, it cycles through whatever boroughs they decide. The borough presents, I don't know the details, you'll have to talk to Mike, but I believe the way it works vaguely is the borough presents what their needs and the project that they're going to be focusing on. And then the LGA decides greatest need or something like that. And then they'll put a quick little blurb and then specifically what your title or the general area you'll be working in is. And Crafton was one of the only ones really focused on a hard numbers kind of thing. A lot of the other ones were comp plan stuff or something like that, which is definitely very important. Don't get me wrong. But it seems like Crafton, at least from the project that Crafton put forward, was the only one that was really looking at developing local businesses. Everything else was more park planning, comp plan, just vague social policy things. Crafton was one of maybe two that were really focused on how do we grow our tax base? How do we grow the people who are working here? So
Awesome.
Other questions?
Shout out everybody.
Thank you, Kennedy, and good luck with your further education. And and your further career. And hopefully you stay in Pittsburgh.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I'll be back. So just hang around.
Good.
I'll still be here.
Right.
So
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Mary will be very happy to hear that you'll be at mini golf.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right, standing committees report, finance administration and sustainability, Mr. Hope.
Thank you. The Finance Administration and Sustainability Committee did meet since the last council meeting, and while 2026 budget planning season is coming up, as the manager mentioned, we are still very closely watching the 2025 budget and making adjustments as necessary throughout the year, so that we still are very committed to coming in with a very balanced budget at the end of the year, balance expense and income. Some of the current numbers are there. I'll run through them real quick. Just our general fund income is at 4.6 million. General fund expenses are at 3.6 million. And these numbers are through at July 31st, correct, Jim?
That's correct.
Correct,
Yep.
thank you. Road fund, the income is at 27,000. And again, there's an asterisk there because the road fund, as we've previously talked about, we've been putting that into the general. We've eliminated that this year for construction projects. And then the road fund expense is around 179,000 this year. Sewer fund income is at 1.7 million and sewer fund expenses are at 1.1 million. So the numbers next to that are what last year's were, so that you have a baseline comparison of kind of where we're trending or tracking from year to year. And then also the budget process presentation, we already covered that. The manager already covered that in his report. So that's what we can expect as we go through the budget planning process in the coming weeks. But again, like I said, we're very closely watching the 2025 budget. And I do want to say again that every time the finance committee meets, the budget is constantly updated and very detailed. And thanks to the manager for really doing a great job. It's constantly being refined, which will make the 2026 budget process even more accurate and even more smooth. So it's a wonderful document, and it's great to have that level of in-depth financial reporting. So thank you.
Great. Any questions? Okay. Infrastructure and land use, Mr. Price.
Yep, I'll take this. So we did receive the energy audit, as we mentioned on August 7th. We have been reviewing it. Probably one of the biggest things that stands out at this point is that more than likely we were concerned that investments in the Borough building would not be great investments. And so we were questioning whether to, what to do on that. And it does seem like it actually is more efficient than we initially assumed. We are looking now at estimates of major replacement of some of the bigger HVAC equipment, and to see, what it would cost to keep the building running in an efficient manner, moving forward. So we'll be once we dig a little deeper on those, also looking into our electricity rates. There might have been a mistake in the report, and we're trying to figure that out as far as the electricity rates are concerned. So we're trying to narrow that down. But as we do have the ability to, this was a $15,000 grant. It costs about $20,000 to do this report. We do have $20,000 in cash to spend on improvements. And then we also have the ability to buy down interest rates if we get a loan. So, which might be really effective if we want to do some larger investment, like a new HVAC system for the Borough building. We currently have a fairly outdated steam system. It is much more efficient to do a hot water system than a steam system. Since we already have the piping, you'd have to all be replaced, but we already have the locations for it. So we're looking into what estimates will cost on that, and what that will look like moving forward. But that's where we're at, kind of in that review stage still on that. And if there's no questions, I'll talk about the DCD grant. As Larry mentioned, he has done some preliminary drawings on that. We were considering lighting as the main options initially. It does seem like because we're not doing other streetscaping and whatnot, and there's so much hardscaping, meaning that there's, it's mostly concrete we're dealing with in these areas. It is much more expensive than we initially thought to do lighting. So we're still looking at lighting, but we're also looking at a few other options. So back to the drawing board a little bit. We just got the grant this year, so we do have some time to play around with moving it forward. There is no match on this, so it's kind of nice. This is, I wouldn't say free money, but you know, it's very easy money. We don't have to provide a match. Probably within the next couple of months, we'll have a better idea of what estimates would cost and what the ideas would cost, and we'll bring it back to the public with options, to council and to the public on options and go from there. I don't know, Mike, if you had any.
No, you said it pretty well. I mean, our goal is to create a 3-4 design alternatives. A couple without lights, a couple with lights, and then sharing that with the public and getting feedback on what everybody likes. And some, cost estimates associated with each of those alternatives should accommodate each alternative.
Yeah, I wasn't able to be at the last meeting when we discussed it, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And just a reminder, this was a $3 million grant initially we applied for. So we definitely were, we only got just over 10% of what we initially asked for. So we definitely had to scale back quite a bit of what we were doing. But we do think, it is a goal to spend this as quickly as possible so that we can apply again. And maybe get, once we know more about the bond fund, maybe have a little more skin in the game, probably up our chances of getting more money that way. So we're looking into that, and more to come. And there are some other, this is grant time of year. There are some, I sent one to Mike today. So there's CDBG grant funds for economic development that are out there. There's a few others that are open. So we're looking into those as well to possibly either add to this or just separate projects. So.
And we have grants that we've already applied for that we're waiting.
Yeah, those are two or those are both currently, we're waiting on a DCNR grant about the pool. They're both pool improvement projects, putting a pavilion in the pool area, replacing the slide, replacing the roof, and some other smaller changes. We have 2 applications out for that.
And the Deluzio grant.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The federal funding, the community project funding, which is for Crafton Boulevard. So we've expressed interest in applying for that in the next year, and we do think we'll be added to the list because Chris or Congressman Deluzio has added us last year and this year. It was we didn't make the round the last time. We did make the round this last time, but they didn't in 2025, but they didn't fund it. They didn't fund any of it. The federal government didn't fund any of it. And so we're hoping that next year the federal government will fund some of it. We don't know what to expect.
You had mentioned earlier the LSA grant as well. Is there a match on that one?
No, there's no match on that
No
one.
match on that.
Although it's very strict and, they follow the grant application to a T, which a lot of times you get a little more flexibility than that. In this case, we haven't seen much flexibility.
Between the DCD and the LSA grant, will there be, if there's any overlapping design features, will those be consistent to kind of create a consistent look throughout the borough?
Yes, if they were going to overlap, they're probably not going to overlap too much. I think the only overlap might be, well, I really don't think there'll be much overlap because if we're able to put more lighting in with the LSA grant, it will be exactly what is already on Crafton Boulevard, just a few more. Basically, the way I looked at it, I think there were 4. We might be able to add 4 more because they wouldn't require the additional bump outs and the other changes. So in that case, it would just be an extension of that. But it would be a way to capture more of the money. Otherwise, we're probably going to end up, even with that, we might end up giving some of this money back just because the timing of having this spent before we got the grant. And
I thought the LSA we couldn't use for lighting. It was vegetation and EV charging.
no, lighting was the other thing, but the lighting had already been installed where they suggest it, but there are a few other spaces that we might be able to do it on. We had asked for lighting in other places and they were completely, we were going to try to move it and combine it with the DCD grant to put it in front of Fig Tree there with that stretch, because we thought just literally a block away. But they were very specific. It wasn't on the initial map, which the school is on the initial map, and those other light spots I just mentioned are on the initial map. So we should be able to do that, but we're still making that ask too, and they've been pretty reluctant. So we'll see what they say.
I think as part of the agenda, we've said the Shade Tree Commission and also Crafton Elementary are working some options around trees and plants to even more beautify that area, and I think the trail entrance, right?
I don't think we can go to the trail entrance because it cuts off right at Clearview,
Yeah.
and they cut us off at Noble too, so I don't think we'll be able to do the trail
Yeah.
entrance. But. Right, and that's all I got.
All right, communication and recreation, Ms. Bolenbacher.
All right, everybody, good evening. Just updates on some upcoming community events. We have our Fall Fest coming on Saturday, September 27th. That's going to be in the park from 1 to 6. We're going to have some music by Mingo Creek Band. We're going to have some food and beer vendors as well as craft vendors. The free entertainment is going to include things like axe throwing, face painting, balloon artists, bouncy house, inflatable obstacle course, a kids craft section, as well as the touch a truck from the fire department. Also included in Fall Fest is going to be our puppy parade and costume contest. And so that will be at 1:20. That'll kick off the Fall Fest. If you're interested in getting your puppy or your dog part of it, it is a $10 registration fee that is going to go towards a charity. This year's charity is going to be the Pittsburgh Air Search and Rescue Team. So plan on attending that. We are looking for volunteers for the Fall Fest. If you can just spare an hour of your time, please let them know. Go to the website, the Crafton Borough website, and email the rec board. We also have the Halloween mini golf pop-up coming up. It's a 21 and over event on Saturday, October 11th. They are still working out the details on that, so more details to come. They did add a new event to the community board. It's going to be a free community swap where you have a chance to, it's going to be kind of like a flea market, but it's going to be a free swap. Nothing's going to be for sale. That's going to be slated for Saturday, November 8th. But the same thing, they're still working out the details, so more details to come. We also have our celebration of light Saturday, December 6th, as well as our holiday house tour on Sunday, December 14th. We are still looking for houses to be on the tour. So if you are interested, once again, please go to the Crafton website to let the rec board know that you are interested. We still have our many ongoing events, such as Coffee, Creativity, and Community. That's still happening every Saturday from 12 to 3 at the library. Yoga in Crafton Park has been extended. It's still Saturdays at 10 a.m., but now it's going through September as well. So you have a few more weeks to take part in that. That is a free event in the park, so everybody come do some yoga. Mini golf is still happening every Friday and Saturday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I do believe I put in a text out to rec board. I believe that's going to extend at least through September, if not even a little bit longer than that. So I will get actual dates for you for the next meeting. Also coming up is our fall newsletter that's coming in October. I believe we do have all of our articles assembled. We are now just putting together the newsletter itself. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you, Ms. Bolenbacher. Board Commission Recruiting, Ms. Bokanek.
Yeah, pretty short and sweet tonight. Just still have that one current position available for our civil service alternate seat. It is a 6-year term. So if anyone is interested, encourage you to go to our website, craftonborough.gov/board commissions. So that is currently the only vacancy that we have, but we do have later on down the year, starting January 1st, but we will have a zoning hearing board, 2 seats. One is a 3-year regular term and the other is the alternate seat up for reappointment, or their seat would be up. So a reapplication process. So that's coming down the road, and that is it.
All right, thanks. The COG, Ms. Bolenbacher.
COG will be back in session starting Thursday, September 18th. It'll be at 6:30 in Bridgeville. So as always, if anybody would like to join me, let me know. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. Our community announcements. Our next council meeting is Thursday, September 1st at 7.
11.
11, but then it's really, we're doing a budget workshop too, right, at 6? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
6 o'clock. Okay, so Thursday, September 11th at 7, and then 6 o'clock is the budget workshop. The agenda. Fall Fest, of course, September 27th in Crafton Park, and that is from 1 to 6. Ms. Bolenbacher gave you all the details. It has become one of our biggest events of the year. So definitely something to check out. Pool hours. So our pool will be ending on Monday, May 1st. So if you want to get a last dip in, it will be open Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then the pool will close. And we also have an employment opportunity, substitute part-time crossing guard. Is it for Carnegie Elementary or for Carlington?
What did I say?
No,
No,
it says for Carlington School
School
District.
School district.
but it's for.
But it's for,
Yeah, we wouldn't hire.
For Crafton.
It's
Carnegie.
Crafton.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yep.
So substitute crossing guard for Crafton Elementary, and you can apply on our website. Anybody else have any community announcements? All right, public comment. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitor is our assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Right. Yep. Mr. Wozniak?
Hi, Greg Wozniak, 1723 Bar Avenue. I just want to say kudos to Heather and her team at the pool. The pool this summer, I think, had a very successful summer. Her team down there is fantastic, from the kids in the craft stand to the food section to the lifeguards, to the maintenance people that are helping keep that pool alive. They're doing a phenomenal job. So I think any borough would love to have an asset like we have in our pool. I did notice a few things that I would, I'm sure it's been brought to Jim's attention, but or to Pearson's attention, would be the fasteners are rusting. I don't understand. Maybe I imagine they should have been staying still, but there's a few, like some of the hardware is loose or failing, and many of the showers have had some difficulties over the summer. So I do have a question about that, and the question is that was there a spec that the architect put out for those fasteners? Why would we be responsible for any cost for if the wrong fasteners were installed? And also the flooring, which has been a problem. What's going to be the fix for the flooring? And then again on that, was the architect spec the wrong flooring? Did the contractor put in the wrong flooring as well as fasteners? So like where did the breakdown happen, and who should be responsible for that? I think that the borough would go after the architect or the contractor for those costs. I don't think the borough should have to spend taxpayer dollars to fix something that could have been a fault of the architect or the borough. So if someone could address that, I would appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Thank you. All right, so we have the fasteners and the hardware is loose, I guess, and failing. Also, the shower and the specs on the fasteners and the flooring. So I know some of this we addressed last year.
Yep. First, let me say, I agree with you 100%. Heather is doing a fantastic job. She has been a huge asset, and really, really helpful. So Heather, if you're listening, thank you very much. as far as, I'm not aware of the fasteners, so I don't know if you can address the fasteners.
That's news to me.
Yeah, we are aware of the shower hardware being an issue. It's already been replaced under warranty, several of them. We have two more that are an issue. We're working with a plumber right now. They are very robust equipment. But unfortunately, I mean, these are $1,000 a piece pieces of equipment. This is the kind of stuff you see, at the beach in North Carolina or whatever. So, and we are confused as to why it's failing, and we've been working with them to figure that out. And so we are working on that. And if it has to come down to pushing back against the engineers, the architects, we will do that. And then we also are fully aware of the flooring. The flooring has been an issue since the building was built. We've done some workarounds. We tried to fix it this spring. And the solution that we had didn't work as well. And so it was spec'd by the architect. And we, in hindsight, which is, always 2020, right? We wish we would have done just raw concrete and not tried to coat it. But that's what was recommended to us. So we are also looking into that and seeing where we can get pushback and possibly get some refunds from either the architect or the engineers. So we're looking into all of those things and are fully aware of the issues.
I think we talked about having a pool report at the end of the season, profit loss, all of that stuff, and having a final update. I think would be good to include these items in that final analysis. I think it's important to know that, the cost of the pool is more, that's subsidized by the taxpayers. We don't make more than we spend on the pool, and that's important to always realize. So showing that through the financials and then these additional items would be good. Great, thanks. Anybody else? Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, Sweeney, 25 Lincoln Avenue. Bet you guys thought I moved. To piggyback on the pool, I know the mats were a temporary solution because of the slippiness of the floor. But they really were a terrible obstacle and a hardship for the attendants to clean because there were so many of them. And they had to be picked up and taken outside and flipped and blah, blah, blah. So if there would be any way we could just go back to plain concrete, that would probably be ideal. So, but I do think Heather's done a great job and I really have enjoyed the pool all summer. But I had two questions. And many months ago, we talked about the police garage floor. And whenever anybody asked about it, we were waiting till the energy audit was done. But I haven't heard anything about it for a good while. And I wondered if we were doing anything or if that's on some agenda or where we're at with that. And then secondly, I wasn't here, for a couple of weeks, but I understand we approved joining the Tri-Cog Land Bank. And I was kind of dismayed to hear that we were comparable to Clareton, because in my opinion, we're not comparable to Clareton. And I think Kennedy's fact of the average household income of 71,500 for Crafton may not be comparable to Clareton in any way, shape, or form. So I was kind of distressed to hear that. Secondly, in that, is it true that I'm understanding this? Well, it's true that I'm understanding it, but am I understanding this correctly? That if the land bank takes a property, then that property has to be sold only to somebody that falls under the HUD guidelines. And if Crafton is a great community like I think it is, why would we be encouraging HUD development in Crafton? If that makes any sense. Did I ask that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have the mats, of course, which are hard to clean. I think we have, and going back to plain concrete, complimenting Heather, and then the police garage floor is the first item. So police garage floor, and then the Tri-Cog land bank.
Yep.
items.
Yep.
Do you want me to say anything about the?
No,
garage?
I think we can,
Okay.
I think I got it. Yeah, so for the police garage floor, we are absolutely still looking at that, and that was the decision. We haven't, there's been no decision made to make significant reinvestments into the building yet, just that's the preliminary thing, but absolutely, that would be one of the first things that would happen. That would have to be a next year thing, but it could be budgeted for early in the year. And I know there's interest in doing that if it is, in fact, looks like the building's gonna be a long-term solution, which we're still not 100% on, but it looks much more likely that that's the case, because of the initial audit reviews. I don't know if you want to say anything beyond that around the garage floor.
Outside of the fact that, you know, the police chief and is totally on board with waiting to understand what direction we're going with the building. And then, of course, once we have an idea that we are gonna be here, then both of us will be pushing to make sure that we're at the top of the list.
Great. Yeah, and there are some, it's important to note that the garage floor is not the only deferred maintenance issue that the building has, so we also need to look at those other issues. This elevator needs to be replaced as part of the complex. There's other issues in the basement that need to be dealt with. As I mentioned, the HVAC system should be replaced eventually if you want to make this an efficient building. I have no idea what that costs at this time. But it's probably significant. So all of those things will play into that decision. And obviously it's council's and the public's decision. So once we get more of that information, we can share it and have that conversation. The land bank, there's a lot of misinformation there. No one compared us to Clairton. Clairton just happens to be a member of the land bank, as is Forest Hills, as is Churchill, as is Millville, as is lots of other communities around the county. Most of their membership happens to be in the Mon Valley because the tri-cog itself, the three cogs that make up now two because they merged, but they kept the tri-cog name, is Steel River's cog and the Turtle Creek cog are now make up that entity. So they're based there. So naturally their membership, and frankly, that's where there's more blight. So their membership is from that area. But there's communities of all different ilk, much higher. Forest Hills has a higher income than we do, and they are very successful with the land bank. And in addition, there's no requirements that. Well, I will state this: the HUD guidelines are more stringent than any other housing guidelines. So if it's just the guidelines, they might use that as their metric on what a house should be, but it has nothing to do with affordable housing or who gets the house in the end. Anybody can buy the house in fact, they sell their houses to developers, they sell their houses to owners. 80% of the houses end up or go to a private owner and someone who can afford to live there and pay the fee. So I don't know where the Clairton idea is coming from or whatnot. I think there's a lot of misinformation and there's a lot of discriminatory misinformation about what we're compared to. And I think it's inappropriate and unfortunate, but that's what has happened as part of this. So.
And can we mention also that in order to actually be part of the land bank, that the school board had to approve it, and they have also?
That's correct. And they were very supportive because their solicitor has worked with the land bank in other areas as well and found it to be very helpful for them. So all good things. These are great. The land bank, more than anything, is a great way that historically Pennsylvania has really focused on demolitions when a house gets to the point where it's no longer viable to sell in the open market. Land banks and conservatorships are great tools to prevent things like that from happening. I think I forget what presentation this was where we talked about, I don't know, what was the presentation where we talked about the number of houses? Was it a zoning conversation? I think it was the big zoning conversation. If you look at that over the last 20 years, or actually over the last 13 years, we've knocked down more than 20 houses and we've built one. And we're about to build a second one. So I think that's really telling You don't want to knock down houses if you can avoid it. These are all tools designed to prevent you from knocking down houses, because every time you knock down a house, you get rid of the tax from that, and you get rid of one EIT tax, at least one earned income tax, and possibly 2 or 3, depending on who lives there. So that's all money then that the rest of the borough has to pay for. And so, you know, the rest of the members of the community. So the more we can prevent that from happening and the more tools we can use to make that happen, that's what we're aiming to do.
Yeah, Karen. Yeah.
Just wanted to correct you, Mike, that the night of the
Aaron,
meeting.
say your name and then, yeah.
The night of the meeting, the lady that came from the bank, land bank, she did compare us to Clareton. She said she compares Crafton with the Clareton neighborhood. She did say that.
I know her very well, and I
Yeah.
have a hard time.
Right.
Yeah.
Over the minutes.
Yeah.
The other question is, I missed the meeting, the last council meeting. Did I know they were gonna make a motion to use the bank, the land bank, did they go in favor for that? The council?
Yeah, we're members of the land bank.
Okay, third question is, I noticed that the center of the shopping center, the parking lot is for lease. Who's leasing that and what's gonna go in there?
Trying to write quickly. Oh. Okay,
That's it.
that's it. Thank you, Karen. All right, so we had, Ann compared us to Clarion. Land bank motion, did we approve it? And then the lease sign in the shopping center, in the center of the shopping center. So,
Yeah, I would, for the Clareton, I would have to go back and watch. I can tell you, I know her very well and she would never do that. They're very different economically than us. I think they have about 50% of their buildings are blighted. So no, if that was said, it was a mistake. I don't believe it was said. And then for
the motion, well, the land bank was approved at the last meeting, to be a member of the land bank. And then the lease.
So approved it,
School board.
which is the 3
approved it.
communities
Yeah.
in our school, including Thornburg.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And then
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Roslyn, not
Well-
Thorn.
No, I'm
Right.
thinking, well, as mayor, I'm always thinking about that we
The
provide
police,
the,
yeah.
yeah, excuse me.
And then the lease sign in the center of the shopping center.
That is, that's the company that works with the owner, Claire, and that is not about leasing the center of the shopping center. It's about having, they are the leasing agent for all of the buildings, and we're not privy to any of that. That is a private relationship with Claire. Yeah, we don't have any idea who they're planning to lease to. They signed, that's a new account for, I think.
It's a new commercial real estate broker, yes.
Right, they had another one previously, so CBRE is just being more assertive about how they're marketing leasing spaces for her.
So just for information, because we always kind of repeat it.
Yeah.
Of course, half of the shopping center is Ingram, then the other half is Crafton. Who owns all of it?
It is run by a company, actually. It's not just the owner who is, and I don't remember her I don't want to say her last name incorrectly, so I won't say it. But you can look on Allegheny County's website. It's all owned by one person or one.
The entire, both the Crafton and the Ingram side is one.
And Giant Eagle.
Right.
Even though Giant Eagle, that the property is still owned by the person who owns those other two strip malls. And they also own, I think that's an Advanced Auto, I think is right next to, or is it AutoZone? I always get them mixed up. Right next, so she owns, her company owns that building as well. So they own a very significant portion, and her father built the shopping center in 1959. So.
Cool. All right.
Sorry, I have one more question.
Okay.
I forgot.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Contract 54 trees. I was just wondering how many blight properties are there in Crafton? Some of you had said between 10 and 20, and I would like to know how many there are. Thank you.
We are still narrowing that list down. We've got an updated tax delinquency list, that is more than 200 properties. We have nuisance properties in the, 20s or 30s. Properties that could be taken to the land bank and or to the conservatorship or other options, are around 10 to 20. It really, some of them just end up getting, purchased at sheriff's sale and they go away. So it's something that you constantly have to manage and follow, and it has been changing. There was a house on Fountain that we thought was gonna have to go to a land bank, and turns out that someone bought it in November and it's already totally been flipped. So it's in great shape. And it sold for like $10,000 initially. So it's a moving target. And we don't have a very specific number as it changes constantly, so. But we will update, the code enforcement officer and I have been working on exactly that list to make sure that that's as up to date as possible.
So as a reminder for this, and we talked about, I think at the last meeting on the land bank, was that we're looking at I can't say that word, conservatorship, land banks, and also any other type of sheriff sales or whatever that's needed, because my biggest thing that I hear from residents is blight, or somebody next to them or across the street is not taking care of their house, and we need to do something about it. And a lot of times it's somebody that passed away or just has abandoned it. So that's one of the biggest things that we have to address. So I think any means that we can do that to get that house in a better situation than it currently is, with raccoons and pigeons and everything living in it, and utilities still being there and no taxes being paid. Anything that we can do to get that better is going to be better for our community. So I think that's really important to always recognize.
Yeah, and I could add the other way to do it, and that's the county has a vacant property recovery program, which is a great tool for rehabilitating buildings. The borough is not that interested in creating more side lots and demolitions, so it's unlikely the council will approve those applications, because the borough has to approve those applications. But where they're rehabilitation, that's a great opportunity. If you have a house next to you that's dilapidated, it's tax delinquent, you can go through the vacant property recovery program and buy that house at the assessed value with no liens, free and clear, which is a great, that's one of the biggest risks to developers, is you don't know what it's encumbered with. But lawsuits, all that stuff, by taking it through the vacant property recovery program, you're guaranteed that it's a free and clear building. There's no extra liens on it. So as a developer, that's a very good way to say, oh, look, this is the assessed value. It's $35,000. I know kind of what the house is. I can get into it and turn it over. So those are really the three main tools that we have that prevent us from having to knock down buildings.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Greg, you already spoke. I like Karen, so you can go ahead.
Just real quick question, that when these lists get made, that they would be public so that you could see the list, your list of vacant and depressed and whatever, which who land bank in the city, what the land bank list is, and conservatorship list, just about all that stuff out there, so people.
And we would have to approve anything that went to the land bank as council, so yeah, that would
all be considered.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anybody online? Oh, we don't have no people online. All right, it is 8:29. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.